Hello everybody, and welcome back to Gaza Goju YT. And yes, I am alive, surprisingly enough. And for this episode, I am making a very special hybrid. That hybrid revolving around... Yeah... It's time for round 3, boys. The first genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Triceratops horridus. This will be my hybrid's base genome, providing the overall body shape, ball socket joint at the neck level for a wider range of motion, more flexible shoulders, and augmentations to the cranium, which include the frill, horns, beak, and extra jaw musculature, which will work in tandem with an upcoming additive. The second genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Supersaurus viviani, possibly the longest sauropod that we know of, providing a major boost to my hybrid's size and muscle mass, air sacs and honeycomb-like hollow chambers in some of its bones for better weight support and stamina, its hind limb and tail anatomy, as well as contributions to the pelvis for rearing up. Now, I know, again, this is not 100% confirmed due to the lack of studies on Supersaurus, but don't worry, I have a fix for that. The third genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Tyrannosaurus rex, the mightiest land predator to have ever graced the earth. With its robust skeletal frame and thick gastralia, soft feet pads that enhance the Supersaurus's weight support via shock absorption and aid in stealthy movement, but the cranium forms the epitome of its contributions, with bolstered senses of sight, hearing, and smell, heightened intelligence, and most importantly, its freakishly strong bite, courtesy of skull shave, jaw and neck musculature, dentition, and lip protection. The fourth genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Ledumahadi mafube, one of the largest sauropodomorphs to be discovered, with its powerful forelimbs that carried its hulking 13.2-ton body like it's nothing and sharp hooked claws. The fifth genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Mylodon darwini. This ground sloth provides a handful of modifications to my hybrid, which includes stronger claws and forelimbs with a slight increase in dexterity, just enough to perform a basic arm swipe. No digging, no grasping, just a simple arm swipe, as well as a modified heel bone coupled with further augmentations to the pelvis for rearing up more comfortably, and it also provides an even stronger skeleton and subdermal armor in the form of small ossicles for greater defense. The sixth genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Otodus megalodon. Despite having a single contribution to my hybrid, that being its cartilaginous aspect of the skeleton, the importance of this contribution proves itself being as immense as this gargantuan shark, the biggest of all sharks across time. I'll be incorporating this cartilage in an interesting manner, so that just like the arapaima scales, which have a literally rock-solid outer layer and a highly flexible inner layer for withstanding a lot of pressure and trauma, my hybrid's bones are comprised of a bony outer layer that's exceptionally strong and dense, and a cartilaginous inner layer that's flexible and can warp around for distributing stress, providing better structural integrity in terms of weight support and durability. Plus, the cartilage will also grant its joints greater flexibility, making it more agile, or to be more accurate, less sluggish, and allowing it to land its hits much more easily despite its enormous size. The seventh genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Dolinosaurus glyphodon, an extinct red-toothed shrew from Spain. This nightmarish furball had abnormally high concentrations of iron in its enamel that far surpassed those seen in any modern shrew species. I can use PGE or precise gene editing to further enhance this trait by incorporating this iron coating onto the claws, beak, horns, thagomizer, and armor. Not to mention acting as a starting point in the immunological realm with a highly potent immune system. The eighth genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is Dinocrocuta gigantea. The largest hyena of all time provides a large array of contributions, such as a further strengthened skeletal frame, muscle fibers, and a larger heart muscle that increase stamina and endurance while retaining strength, its powerful stomach acids which contribute to a bolstered immune system, and most importantly, bolstered senses of sight, hearing, and smell, in addition to a larger attachment area for the adductor mandibular externus muscle on the skull, as well as increasing the amount of enamel in its teeth, further increasing bite strength and adaptability to breaking bones. Side note, Dinocrocuta also contributes with its canines, which will be situated at the front of the jaws to give my hybrid better penetration through thick layers of muscle and armor, as well as asserting a better grip when biting down on opponents. The ninth genetic contributor to my hybrid's genome is Pachycephalosaurus wyomingensis, the largest member of the Pachycephalosauridae family and a close relative of Ceratopsians. This bad boy strengthens the neck and cranium for withstanding stronger head bashes when ramming, alongside prominent facial spikes for extra defense, in addition to a slight dietary influence, making my hybrid an omnivore. I'll delve deeper into that in just a sec. The 10th genetic contributor to my hybrid's genome is Sauropelta edwardsi. This metal nodosaurid provides the base armor, shoulder spikes, and spike battery at the sides all the way to the tail for a powerful yet not so heavy defense. And lastly, its specialized nostrils for cooling up the air access in the body. The 11th genetic contributor to my hybrid's genome is Stegosaurus stenops, the most well-known of all stegosaurids, with very slight modifications to the tail for greater reach, and its spiky thagomizer, which will be influenced in terms of shape by Sauropelta's tail spikes and its throat armor for complete neck protection. The 12th genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is the thorny devil, arguably the most prominent additive across all iterations of this hybrid. This peculiar lizard distributes the spikes all over its body, ensuring no loopholes in my hybrid's defense. Furthermore, it provides minute, specialized scales in between the spikes that harvest moisture from water sources and lifts it all the way up to the mouth for self-sustenance. However, given the sheer size of this hybrid, it will likely evaporate before it could reach, which still helps with thermoregulation either way. The 13th genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is the saltwater crocodile. The largest living reptile in the world provides some modifications to Sauropelta's spiky osteoderms, giving them a poor score, connected to large networks of blood vessels which aid in heat dissipation, in addition to its crocodilian immune system, even stronger stomach acids which contribute to energy efficiency, heightened predatory intelligence, and bolstered senses, which include night vision, hearing, and smell, as well as sensory pits across the body for motion sensing. The 14th genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is the Maasai giraffe, the most powerful species of giraffe. It provides its long, prehensile, muscular, black tongue, antiseptic saliva, and mouth insides adapted for eating thorny plants. This will come in handy when biting down on hybrids defended by porcupine quills. The 15th genetic contributor in my hybrid's genome is the vampire bat. This guy needs no further introduction, bolstered immune system designed for iron management as well as acute hearing. Moving on. The 16th genetic contributor to my hybrid's genome is the Komodo dragon. The largest living lizard on the planet, provides an augmented immune system, heightened aggression coupled with that of the trike, T-Rex, Dinosaurus, Dinocrocuta, and Croc, UV vision, pelvis anatomy for rearing up and wielding its tail properly, and most importantly, major augmentations to its armaments, including extra neck musculature plus iron coating to the teeth, stronger claw composition with beta-carotene, and a more muscular tail for better wielding that thagomizer of his. The 17th genetic contributor to my hybrid's genome is the Kia parrot. Kia parrot was picked for replacing the dodo bird found in past iterations of this hybrid, providing a more pronounced curvature to the beak, making it shaped like a hook, in addition to fearlessness and destructive nature that reflects some aggression, further bolstered intelligence, and most importantly, a primary influence to my hybrid's diet, making it fully committed to an omnivorous diet. And closing up our genome is the blue wildebeest, a master of power and endurance, with specialized muscle fibers that work in tandem with those of Dinocrocuta, with the added perk of conserving water much better, allowing the wildebeest to obtain insane speeds without sustaining a heat stroke. Not to mention their immense resilience, being able to survive a whole year without water, courtesy of its mitochondrial storage capacity for greater energy efficiency and self-sustenance. Just to give you an example, my hybrid will still have great resilience, but not to the point of surviving a year without water, because that would be ridiculous, obviously. And lastly, they add a further boost to the hybrid's neck and cranium for withstanding strong head bashes. Now that the genome has been showcased in minute detail, it's time to introduce the final product. Say hello to Diablosaurus titanus, name meaning the Titanic soaring devil, codenamed Iblis. Height 6.2 meters or 20.3 feet in its quadrupedal stance, 13.5 meters or 44.3 feet in its tripod stance, length 20 meters or 65.6 feet, weight 30 tons. Now, some of you watching this video might already know about this hybrid. That's because I have already revealed Iblis on different platforms a very long time ago. And those platforms include YouTube, by the way. And throughout that period, I have collected a bunch of arguments that people have made to claim that my hybrid is dysfunctional. And today, I shall debunk each and every single one of these arguments to show to every one of you that my hybrid is perfectly functional and worthy of the title of the most powerful hybrid ever. Starting with a basic argument, claiming that my hybrid's genome comprised of 18 genetic contributors would be too complex and messy to function properly. Now let me make something very clear. Just because a hybrid has a large genome does not necessarily mean it's straight up hanked. Sure, creating a hybrid with a smaller genome of 6 to 9 genetic contributors is much more favorable for congruity. However, if done very carefully and with enough experience, you can quite easily make functional hybrids with a genome count of over 15 genetic contributors. The second argument against my hybrid is a bit of a mediocre one, but for some reason it was brought up way too many times to be ignored. This argument claims that my hybrid's cartilaginous aspect of the skeleton would not work, mainly due to the misconception that people made thinking that I replaced the entire skeleton of this hybrid with cartilage, which is very false. As you can see by this demonstration down below, my hybrid's bones are comprised of a bony outer layer which is incredibly strong and dense, designed for withstanding a lot of pressure and trauma concentrated on it, and the cartilage makes up the inner layer with its flexible nature, allowing the bones to warp around such pressure and trauma so as to not break, and thus my hybrid is capable of comfortably supporting its own weight even when rearing up on its tripod stance, which I'll delve into in more detail in a little bit, as well as withstanding high amounts of blunt force trauma. Furthermore, these cartilaginous reinforcements extend to my hybrid's joints, making them more flexible and increasing my hybrid's locomotive capacity by a wide margin, something that we'll address in greater detail later on. Now let's move on to a major argument, and a fairly solid one at that, claiming that my hybrid would suffer from severe blood poisoning due to the sheer amount of iron in its body. Now, I do owe you a fair explanation for this one. You see, if you look closely into my hybrid's artwork, you can notice how the black and red coloration on the scales and osteoderms are not as intense as those on the teeth, claws, beak, horns, and spike battery on the sides, which include the shoulder spikes and thagomizer. This, besides saving a lot of time when coloring this guy, because boy, the artwork took forever, is also a demonstration of how the iron is distributed across my hybrid's body, with the latter body part having the higher concentrations of iron due to the fact that they comprise my hybrid's arsenal of weapons, which would be exposed to constant pressure when taking down large arrays of hybrids. And the armor, on the other hand, is very robust as it is and does not require much reinforcement, which is why the iron concentration in it is significantly lower. Add on to that the fact that the vampire bat is not the only contributor to my hybrid's iron management, with saltwater crocodiles and crocodilians in general for that matter having remarkable resistance to lead poisoning, which is significantly more dangerous than iron poisoning, and megalodon being a shark, presumably having a specialized liver for filtering out heavy minerals that it would come into contact with in its marine environment, which further aid in this function when combined with the fact that the iron levels in the body are generally very low, instead in the weapons that is. Now let's move on to a rather conflicting argument. Size. As many people have claimed that my hybrid is way too big, but at the same time many people have claimed that my hybrid is way too small. So perhaps I need to get the record straight regarding Iblis's size. You see, my hybrid was scaled using Supersaurus proportions, which reaches a hip height of 6.2 meters, a length of 40 meters, neck included, and a weight of 35 to 40 tons. And as you can see, my hybrid does not exceed those proportions, so it's not overscaled. And regarding the underscaled statements, the reason why Iblis weighs 30 tons is, besides the fact that 40 to 35 tons is around the weight limit for being able to rear up, it also provides a sweet spot where my hybrid can quite easily crush anything that's underneath of its weight class and still have enough mass to wrestle down with animals many times larger than itself with the equipment and physical/mental capabilities to boot. The final argument to debunk is not really an argument against my hybrid's congruity, but rather an argument against my hybrid's practicality. Namely, someone has suggested that because of Iblis's colossal size and extensive armor coated with iron, it would be extremely slow and sluggish. which is definitely a solid argument, but it's not true. You see, the reason why Iblis has Triceratops as the base genome instead of a sauropod is because the ceratopsian body plan is much better optimized for locomotive capacity while still retaining immense weight-bearing capabilities. Add on to that the cartilaginous reinforcements to the joints from the megalodon, increasing their flexibility and giving them a wider range of motion and overall greater agility. As for the armor, this following demonstration showcases how Iblis' scales are precisely constructed. Notice how the keratin from the thorny devil scales makes up the majority of the scale found in my hybrid, with a thin layer of bone from Sauropelta and an even thinner layer of iron coating, providing optimal protection without adding excess weight. This also applies to the osteoderms, with the porous core from the saltwater crocodile significantly reducing their weight without taking away their immense strength. Overall, this allows my hybrid to move with speed and grace, just enough for it to keep up pace with smaller opponents and have the agility and speed necessary to evade attacks from larger opponents and wind up enough speed for its ultimate attack, which will be revealed in an upcoming video. And with that, we conclude this video. Thank you everybody so much for watching all the way up to the end. It was an absolute pain recording this video, but it was worth every second of it for your entertainment. And don't worry, this will not be the last you see of Iblis, as after tomorrow, I plan to make a video where I pit him up against the most powerful hybrids of the entire Great Hybrid War. And tomorrow, be on the lookout for a brand new submission to the Skybrid War by Zane Reborn 2. So, as always, thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.